I'm Hannibal Navies, and this is NFL Players Second Acts Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in. I'm Peanut Tillman, and this is the NFL Players Second Acts Podcast. With me, as always, my guy Roman Harper. Why are we laughing, Rome? What's so funny? Why you laughing?
Your countdown was amazing.
What was my countdown?
It was like 97, 100, 2010, or so. I don't know what you just said. It was funny. It was good. This is another thing. Anyways, we are here in the Atlanta iHeartRadio studios, and of course, we have another special guest. Peanut's on a good one, so let's just get into it.
All right, this next gentleman, he is the pride of East Oakland. Played linebacker for 9 NFL seasons. He played with the Panthers, the Bengals, and the 49ers. He's now an entrepreneur.
Packers as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's a philanthropist now, and he's been very instrumental in helping NFL players transition from the NFL to their second act. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the pod, Mr. Hannibal Navies.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, fellas.
When was the last time you got an ovation like that?
Man, it's been a minute, man.
Yeah,
I can't
I'm just
even,
wondering.
I didn't
Put a
say
smile on your face.
that one team because it's that one team.
Oh,
I purposely omit that. So you trying to don't do that again. There's purpose.
Got it.
There's a method to my madness. There's a method to my madness.
Completely.
I don't say that green team.
I got you, dog.
I don't say that green team. Like he knows how real the hatred is for that green team. He don't like my team, so it is what it is. It's like you and the Falcons, right? Would you ever play for the Falcons?
No, but I can say their name. Like,
well, that's you. We don't say it. We just say we call it the green team.
It's fine. Like I'm not arguing. I'll let you guys have that. You guys can do whatever you want.
Funny thing is, when I went to Green Bay played against Green Bay. The year before I went and played in Green Bay, we played against them. I was Carolina. And I was like, I'd never play here. I was like, man, what's Green Bay? I said, I'd never play here. I feel sorry for these cats. Next year, I'm in Green Bay. That's just how the universe works, man.
Funny like that.
How did you enjoy your experience?
Green Bay was amazing. It was amazing, man. You know, when you get to go to a historic football organization. You know, I went from Carolina to Green Bay, so Carolina was fairly new. I got drafted in 99. It was only, I think they were 95 when they established. Yeah. So it was a new organization. They didn't have the same kind of history. So when you get to go play for Green Bay, you see them Lombardi trophies when you walk in, and you know the whole history and the fandom around it. It was crazy. It was amazing. You know, when you can go to a practice and get 50,000 people at a practice, that's a lot of people. You know, that's a crazy thing. When you get people make their family vacations coming to watch you in training camp, that's crazy, right? So, you know, Green Bay, it was amazing, man. I couldn't live there, but it was a great place to play some football.
Yeah, I love that they all on the Jumbotron. It's like, I own the Packers.
Yeah,
they
it's
all
owned by the team.
Time out. What was that again? You what?
I own the Packers.
Is that how they say it?
I think so.
I'm not going to even attempt that accent.
But I mean, I always enjoyed it there though. How did you manage living in East Oakland as a kid?
Man, East Oakland, man, I love it. Love it. I'm born and raised, and you know, wear East Oakland on my chest, man. But it was good, man. It was a good cultural place to grow up. It was you know, I grew up, all my family was there, so I got to, you know, just live my childhood in a very kind of, you know, I like the history of Oakland. You know, you go back to the Black Panthers and the culture and the Black culture of Oakland. It used to be a majority Black city, which is no longer the case, and they're going through some changes in Oakland. But back then, it was very, you know, cultural, a little ethnic, and very, like I said, you know, oriented in that way. So I grew up, my daddy was an African-American studies professor. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, so I grew up in Oakland. That was a good place to be in Oakland at that time, man. So I never turned my back on Oakland. I take a lot of lessons that I learned from Oakland. Growing up in Oakland is not, you know, all the stuff comes from inner city stuff. It's still in Oakland, you know, so I grew up with that and got the grit from that. But yeah, man, I love Oakland. Too bad we ain't got no more teams, but I love I love Oakland. Don't have a team to support no more at Oakland, but besides my damn Warriors, but they went to San Francisco.
They right on the bay.
But yeah, man, I love Oakland. I'm glad I'm from there and love what it gave me.
It's a whole lot of talent though. You got Kamala, you got Marshawn Lynch, Damian, Jason Kidd, Too Short, E40, GP, Gary Payton, Ricky Henderson, Too Short. I got it on there twice, sorry. But yeah, you got a lot of people.
It's a lot of people from Oakland, man. I did probably about 3 years ago. With my guy Kevin Winston, who's from Oakland as well, works for the NFL. We did an Oakland version of one of my academies. Man, we had so many Oakland cats that came back. You know, Maurice Jones-Drew. A lot of cats.
I was gonna say he's from up that way too, right?
He's my boy. He's from up there too. So it's just people don't realize how many people from the Bay, man, that get it in.
How dope was it for you to go back and play for the 49ers? Because I'm from Chicago, born there, not too far from Soldier Field. Relatives, my mom and my pops, they all born there, grew up there, graduated high school there. So for me, it was kind of like a dream to go back because I still have a lot of family and a lot of relatives that lived there or were there when I played. How dope was that for you?
Man, it was amazing because, you know, I started playing football. My whole everything I know about football to begin with was from the Niners. I grew up in the Bay. We was winning championships. I mean, Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Roger Craig. I mean, that whole Ronnie Lott, that whole era. I mean, we were winning. You know, every Sunday I was having good Sundays as a child.
It was one Alabama kid and going hard for the San Francisco 49ers back.
Who's that?
But that was me.
You was going hard for the Niners back in the day?
I was.
We don't care about Alabama.
But back to you though.
But no, man, the Niners, I mean, that's why that was my love for football came from the Niners, man. So then you fast forward to being able to retire from the 49ers and playing for that team. So it came at the end of my career, which was probably better not to be at home when, you know, drafted there because I'm from Oakland. You still try to get away from the element in the family. I think sometimes that could be a distraction. So I was pleased that it wasn't at that time. I was a little bit more mature to be able to be in the hometown and still play. But it was surreal to be able to play for the team that you grew up watching. You know, that you and your father grew up like watching the Niners, and then being able to come in and be part of that history yourself. I mean, it's crazy when I go back now to the alumni games. I'm looking at we'll stand in the line to go out the tunnel. And I'm standing next to Ronnie Lott and Joe Montana. And because every time, because my name is Navies, I'm standing next to Joe Montana. So we're always walking out. So just to be around those guys and be on the same platform as those guys, man, it was surreal to be a part of that. So loved it, man.
How would you describe Hannibal Navies as a player, a football player, to those that might not know you as a common name to everybody else outside of where you're from?
I was just the you know, come to work hard hack type dude, man. You know, I didn't start playing football till 9th grade, so I was just like I was very athletic. I was a linebacker, could run and can hit and just come do your job type person. I was just one of them kind of people, man, came to play. I was a career starter, but, you know, obviously you always start on special teams and doing that kind of stuff. And man, I was just that guy that just tried to be dependable, man, just be there. So that's how I was able to play 9 years because you could do a little bit of everything. So that's who I was.
So first off, don't say the special teams because you ain't never played special teams. I see Thomas over there scrunching his eyes. He ain't never played special teams. He has no idea what that's like. He's talking about like you over there preaching because I feel what you're saying, Hannibal. Like I feel you on that. He was like, "Oh yeah, special teams."
Ain't touched the special teams. Ain't ran on no kickoff.
This dude's a prima donna diva over here talking
about the old school kickoff.
He don't know. He don't know. He was on the sideline. The quarterbacks.
He's not lying.
Oh my God.
He's not lying. He's not lying.
Oh man. So
no special teams, dog.
Zero.
No.
He was terrible at it. He just wasn't no special teams.
Like, that's not what he wasn't that good at it. It is just, it's not my thing.
That's where the bullets was flying.
Yes.
I'm trying to tell you.
That's how cats made the team. That's how cats would eat.
That's how they made the team, how they stay with the team.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man. In my later careers, that's how I stayed on the team too. Like,
well, later in my career, they were like, bro, you can't help us no other. If you're not playing, like, you might well go ahead and go home. So like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so three of us, we've all had some good plays, some bad plays, specifically when we were rookies.
Yeah.
What was that welcome to the NFL moment for you as a rookie? That's what I want to know.
Man, I would say it was just training camp. I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah, and you were old school training camp. Like you like,
did y'all 2 or 3 days?
3 days.
Yeah.
That's why I say old school.
Like 6 weeks, 3 days in Spartanburg, South Carolina, 110 degrees.
Yes. So y'all was at Wofford?
Wofford,
yeah. So I know.
Sleeping in a dorm.
Sleeping in the dorm. It was probably the same dorms you were in when we were there.
The same dorms. It wasn't nothing special. Like the dorms, the small beds, sharing with a roommate. They blowing a horn every damn morning.
Sharing with a roommate?
No, we didn't have roommates.
Oh, we had roommates back then. I was a rookie, man. They had a roommate.
Ain't nobody.
I was the year 13, so I guess I didn't really know.
Listen, as a rookie, I had a roommate. Then they walked through the hallways with this blowhorn.
Yeah.
Like, with an air horn. Like, So I would wake up just so I didn't have to wake up to that. Like that was, listen, waking up to that is hard, bro. So I would just like wake up early just so I didn't hear that. Then just my first training camp was crazy. Just, after you get to the dog days, they make you eat lunch, but you sit down at lunch, you just look at your food. Like,
you ain't even hungry yet.
No, you just look at the food like, man, like you don't know what day it is. You don't know what day of the week it is. You don't know how many days you've been there. Like, because you practice so many times, like 2 days seems like you've been there forever.
Yeah.
Right? So it was just, I remember I remember this vividly, man. It was like a 907. I remember taking my reps and then took my knee and I was sitting there. I was thinking like, damn, this is what I decided to do? Like, this is I literally like, is this what you really want to do?
Yeah.
Like it was, back then, that's when training camps was so hard. That's when people decided like, do I want to do another training camp? I want to do another year of football. Like how many more training camps will I have left in me? That's what it was back then. So that was my wake up call to the NFL was like, okay. And it was serious business. Like it's not, when you get to NFL, when you get to a training camp, you realize how serious NFL football really is. It's not a game. Like it's every practice, every game. And you because you play so much in training camp, you can make so many different mistakes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You learn and you have to make them up. So I used to go to bed at night. If I had a couple jacked up plays, I'm sleeping, think about that. Like, man, I got tomorrow, I got to pick it up. So I couldn't barely even sleep. So think about all that, man. You there 6 weeks, 110 degrees. You losing like 10 pounds of practice. Every way you in before practice and way you out practice. Spartanburg was so hot, man. You get the punters have to get IVs. It's crazy. So they were, cats was losing weight like crazy. But it was an experience, man. It was something I definitely hardened you up. You feel like you could do that, you could do anything.
I don't think a lot of people realize how hard training camp is. Well, back then.
Well, I also
time.
think, you allude to it. It's like, but you also are able to appreciate like a real pro and the consistency in which they play throughout training camp, throughout the practices. There really aren't any lows. It's just high and consistency. And I learned something from Sean Payton. He would always say, like older guys, vets, like, I ain't got to see it every day. I just need to see it.
Need to see it. Yeah.
That's it. Like, I don't need it all the time, but I still got to see it. And so that's that you just don't know because, man, when you're a rookie, bro, your wheels are just turning. And you working so hard and just like, the older guys, they ain't working that hard.
They not.
That's the trick.
That's the wisdom. That's the trick. That's the game, though.
Yeah.
That's where you just like, you start to figure it out. Like you, same thing. I'm like, man, I got to do this again. And when you're a rookie and maybe he don't know, you did everything.
Everything.
Scout team, scout team offense or scout team defense. Then you're getting a couple of reps on defense.
And special teams. Special teams had its own practice.
Yes.
So it was 2 practices. The third practice was special teams that you got to sleep in on that one.
I was around. I just was not part of the plan.
And when you do special teams, you got extra practices, extra meetings. It's everything. So you got an extra meeting on top of all that, everything. So it's just a lot, man, as a rookie. And you gotta
one thing you'll never forget about me, Hannibal, was that Roman did not play special teams. I want to know another thing that whether you forgot about it or not, and that is 4th and 26.
Oh, man.
And see, because you played for different teams, we can have different stories from all around. Now, let me set this up for the viewers that don't understand.
I don't know what this is.
There we go.
Please set it up for me.
All right. 2004 NFC Divisional Playoff Game. It was between the Packers and the Eagles. The Packers were up 17. The Eagles had 14. It's 4th and 26, fourth quarter, 1 minute and 12 seconds left to go in the game. Would you like to take over from there?
That was probably the hardest loss I've ever had in my career because we literally were up 14-0, about to go 21-0 on them, and we got greedy and tried to go on and on 4th and 1 at the goal line, didn't get it. So they went back down and turned and scored. So it became 14-7. But it's a good game. But we was kicking their butts to the point where we on the sidelines like, man, we about to go to this championship game. We start talking on the sidelines like, man, we got this one, 4th and 26. Who going? So I was on the field when that happened. 4th and 26, that's pretty much over, right?
I mean, you get that 1 out of 100.
They got 26 yards on the dot. Freddie Mitchell, he caught probably 4 passes that year. Like straight up. That's my boy.
Discount double checking.
That's how he listen. I love Freddie. That's my dude. But he caught that pass. That year he only had like 5-6 passes. We looking at a scout report and we like, oh, Freddie, we're not really worried about Freddie right now because, he caught that one pass. He's a legend in Philly now. So 4th and 26, we had one of the best teams I ever been on. We had Brett Favre, Ma Green, our O-line was great, D-line. I mean, we had a hell of a team, man. We were rolling too. 4th and 26 got us, man. We did I don't know why we did. They fired our defense coordinator for that. We had all out blitz. I don't know why. All out blitz on 4th and 26. I remember rushing through the.
How did it not get home?
26 yards is a lot. If you send it, I mean, that takes time. And it was a zero blitz.
Blitz, man. He threw that thing up. Donovan threw that thing up, man. And our middle linebacker didn't get back. I ain't say no names.
Yeah.
But he didn't get all the way back. And Freddie just caught that ball, man. That hurt me. That took me because I literally thought we won a Super Bowl that year.
Yeah.
And you know how hard it is to get Super Bowl, as y'all know. And that's something we all chasing. If everybody chasing that same thing, when it's taken away from you, bro, that hurt. So that's the only game I really had like a love in my throat. Like, and I had seriously, bro. Because you win and lose, but that one hurt. And then I was like, I shut off. Like I stopped watching football that whole rest of this thing. Man, I went to that Super. I went to Super Bowl to support some of my boys that year. That's when Carolina played
the Patriots.
Yeah, but that one hurt. Yeah, that's why I remember I couldn't stand Philly for a very long time.
Yeah, that stunk. I mean, David Akers made the kick too, guys.
Yeah,
just want to let you guys.
So I think a lot of people wrestle with the idea of retiring. Most people in the NFL, they retire because the NFL retires them. It's not because they want to retire. And I was kind of the same way. I didn't retire on my terms, but you were a little bit different.
Sure.
Like you were confident and okay with the decision to retire. What brought you to that decision, and why were you so confident?
I was confident because I just believed I never tagged myself as just a football player, right? Although I had so much more to learn and outside of football and business and different things, I just felt like I could accomplish it. I never felt like football was my end all be all ever.
Yeah.
So it was just, to me, that time I felt, and I didn't want to be that guy because, that's what they always tell us, man, play till they kick you out. That's what they tell us all the time, and just keep playing. But I didn't want to be that guy that just played. And I always tell the younger guys, it's like, for me, retiring and deciding to retire, it was at a point where I was saying either I could play another year or two, or I could jump into my next part of my life and start to begin that one, or do I want to take these 2 years and play and then put me further back in my other life? So I just was like, I was ready. It doesn't mean that it's not scary. It doesn't mean that you have everything figured out, but I was confident that I would get somewhere and figure it out because I felt like I had the tools and the network and all that kind of stuff. So it was challenging. It was tough, but I think the decision to make it as opposed to making it for me helped me in my transition.
Yeah. Talking about that transition, could you maybe talk about your work with the NFL and the trust?
Sure.
And you've been doing that for 7 years now is what I read. Is that correct?
Yep.
And whether it was a factor in you having a smoother transition or from the game?
Well, I would say this. I retired in 07, 08. The trust was formed in 2013. So I had been on my transition journey for a while.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. So talk about those years.
Those years were, I'll be here forever talking about all that. But I mean, in a short period of time, when you retire, things change, right?
Yeah.
Relationships change, family dynamics change. I had 2 young babies. My son was born that January of my last year. So I got a 3-year-old and a baby. I got a wife, and I got to figure out how am I going to, be the next part, the provider for my family, and just a lot, right? Just a lot, a new way of life, and just got to figure stuff out. You got to figure out how you manage your time. We all go through the period of time where football comes in, and your body's starting to feel like you need to play football, but you're like, you that period, and then there's for me, I would say there was I didn't sleep a lot. I would be up all the time. I'm like, probably because my mind was thinking about what I need to do, what's next, how I'm gonna get there. Anxiety probably was setting in. I went through a divorce, so that played a role into my transition as well. But for me, I just woke up every day still with some kind of purpose. That's how my foundation and my business was all around. 360 Sports Academy was around leadership development for young athletes, and so that's something that drove me, that I was passionate about beyond football, that took me to the next level. So I had some mentors that really poured into me in business and gave me some kind of, the blueprint of business, and gave me resources and office space and just the infrastructure of a business. So I was able to go out there and do things at a high level, which helped me tremendously. But it was a challenge, man, just going through through all the stuff that I'm sure you guys know about in transition and the financial part, right? Understanding like people think that, you know, yeah, we got money, you got investments and all that kind of stuff. But the day that you retire, everything that you're doing, you're digging into your savings. I mean, you know, your
burn rate.
Yeah, your burn rate. Like, so if you got a burn rate of 15 a month and you stop getting paid, you're still pulling that 15 from somewhere, right? Yeah. So, you know, I hated the narrative of, especially when I worked at the PA, everybody thinking that, you know, outside, especially when that thing came out broke with 30 for 30, thinking that everybody's just, as a former player, lose their money because they're just frivolous with their money, which is not the case, right? People just living life, trying to make things work and trying to figure that out after football. And if anybody got let go of their job and had no, you know, and that's how they had to take their money. I mean, that's how it worked for a doctor, lawyer, anybody, right? So we're no different. So it was a challenge, but I what kept my guiding light was just being passionate about something, being passionate about giving back to young athletes and being passionate about taking about what I knew in my career and playing college and NFL career and giving that back so that people could have a smoother kind of, I guess, transition than I did.
With your experience with, you know, the trust and helping players help them with their transition, why do you think we struggle during transition?
Everybody's different, but I would say the biggest thing that I saw was just you got to understand some of these guys been playing since they're 6 years old.
Yeah.
And so when you're playing something, investing in something that much, it's like a loss, right? So they equate it to like a loss of a human being, like a loss, like you're just grieving. So there's grievance going on, right? So if you're grieving and you don't address that grievance and you're just grieving and grieving and grieving, but you don't understand that you are grieving, you don't understand how to get out of your grieving, like that turns into other things. And some people struggle with identity. Some people struggle financially. It just depends on where you are, but it really comes from just, like I said, the part of being a part of something so enormous as the NFL, right? And then that goes away. The NFL is huge. Like the NFL is like this big, enormous mountain that we've climbed and we're successful at. So some people struggle and say I retired at 30 years. I did retire at 30 years old. I played 9 years and retired at 30. I'm so young at 30. Yeah. But some people struggle with, like, was that the best part of my life? Yeah. You know, so say I'm 30 years old and I got a lot of life to live. Am I saying that I'm never going to reach anything to this magnitude ever again? Then it gives people, you know, they looking in the rear view all the time. Like, I used to be this, I used to be that. And then I also think it's an opportunity, you know, some people struggle with, like I said, I talked about the identity thing. Like, some people struggle with who they are after football and how to present themselves after football. You know, I know a lot of people, you know, they present themselves as good. Like, we exterior, like when they're done, like, I'm good, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But a lot of people, they don't know, you know, one of the questions I learned not to ask a former a transition athlete is like, what you doing now? Because they don't know yet. And it gives them a pause. It makes them feel uncomfortable or insecure about themselves as well. So that's something I learned to just massage and understand what people are doing in different ways. But yeah, those are some things, man, I think that all play a role. I don't think there's one thing that people struggle with. I think there's a multitude of things, but it really just comes from that game is so big for us and our identity was tied up in that from a young age. And we give so much to that game. When it's gone, what are you giving? People trying to find that exact feeling that we had in football, and I don't know if we can ever find that.
I don't think we can find that. I just think you bring up great points. Yeah, just about the whole transition process. Clearly, you've talked to a lot of guys, and it's not just football. I think another people, we don't say this enough either, because we don't give ourselves grace much at all. Is that when rock stars or musicians and all them that have had one-hit wonders and they've been on top of the world, and all of a sudden they not booking those shows, they go through the same things we do.
Absolutely.
The same thing.
Same exact thing.
We just don't hear about them as much. And because we're not in the same circle. But people that hang around them or have been around these guys or these girls, this is what it is. And so I think that happens to everybody. And it's very unique for football players because we have been put on this pedestal or elevated to this level because of our unique talents since we were however old we were. Whether it's ninth grade or like me, I was in fourth grade, so I was 11 years old, 12 years old, or maybe younger than that. That's an old fourth grader. But anyways.
He's a dumb fourth grader.
But whatever that age is, but that's all we know. And every August, all we're doing is preparing to get back in that season for 20-something years of your life. And the whole time, when you get to 30 years old, in your job, they tell you how old you are. And then the moment you leave outside of those doors, you're like the youngest man in the room. And it's such a unique dynamic. For me, that was the biggest takeaway was that when I left the doors of an NFL locker room, everybody could this, that, how old I am, old school, triple OG, da-da-da-da-da. Then I get outside in the real world, and I'm the youngest dude in the room.
That's so true.
Honestly,
they was calling me old head at 30. I'm in the locker room like, old head. I'm like, 30? I'm like, that's exactly right. That's true.
You know what I mean?
They were calling you OG your rookie year, though. They was calling you triple OG your rookie year. He looked, the camera, I'm looking right there. That's how Rome looked his rookie year.
I did not have the beard, but I did have the gray hair. That is a true statement.
He looked the same.
But all those things happen, right? And so us having to deal with that, I think, is just so unique. And so how we continue to talk about these experiences and share them, I think is very important that you continue to do your work, because I think it really does help. And then you allow us to have more grace and for others to be doing it as well. And then hearing how you speak about it, it just really just makes me like, man, we are doing the right thing.
Oh, for sure. Did you receive the title though when it was like, hey, Unc, hey, OG, hey, old school? Did you receive it?
Not when I was playing, no. Not when I was playing. I'm like, nah, y'all, no. Nah, I couldn't do it. I didn't feel like I was old. I didn't feel like I was old at all. So when they said that, I was like, they didn't take it as like when they was telling me, they was not taking it as a compliment. They was like, you old school, man. Like, like, nah, man. Nah.
That's how I felt when Trey was like, he used to call me Unc, and I was just like, oh, OG. I'm like, what you talking about, OG, bro? You're 13. Like, this is what we do. Like, I'm still starting in my 13th season. Like, I'm still starting. Like, what you talking about?
We got dog years in football, though, man.
Yeah.
So it's dog years in football, man.
I want to know about some of your current ventures.
Sure.
You're vice president of development for Athletes Charitable. You're also the founder of 360 Sports Academy. And I don't know if you're still doing it, but we talked about it earlier, your podcast that you and Charlie Batch started, who's also another partner in your other business as well.
Sure. So I'll start with...
and your podcast is called Giving Legends.
Giving Legends. So I'll start
with... to a lot of similarities.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start with 360 first. That's my foundation and my business. And it like I said, I started forming that. My first 360 Sports Academy was in 2010 at Georgia Tech, and I did it. It was something, a pilot of mine that I did. I would say, how can I recreate a training camp type atmosphere for these youngsters so they know? Speaking of training camp, right, we talked about earlier, I wanted to replicate that and show them how intense it was, not just from the athletic part, but we sit in classrooms a lot going through all this stuff, right?
Yeah,
so
better stay up.
I gave them the same drill, right? So it's for 5 days at Georgia Tech in the classroom, but we weren't doing X's and O's in the classroom. We were doing SAT prep. We were doing financial literacy. We were doing social media. I mean, we had experts coming in to the class. So they would practice 2-3 times a day, and they sitting there. You go through the whole thing with people nodding off, make them wake up. We doing nutrition. So it was really cool to do that. And I actually, what made me fall in love with that, because I put my all into something to make that event or that program go off the right way, and took so many moving parts, and it was successful. And I actually saw the change in these young men. And that was like, that drove me. That from that point on, I was like, I'm never stop doing this, right? I'm gonna continue to do this forever. So it was amazing to see transformation in young men in sports in 5 days, and not just on the field, which we can do with real coaching, but I'm talking about coaching them in the classroom. I saw, young men that were like, I wasn't even thinking about going to college. I wasn't thinking about taking SAT, and they're like, that's my priority. This is what I want to do. And their parents were pouring back and saying they've changed kids and they want to have different motivations. So that was 360. Continue to do that. Ray Lewis was like, one of my biggest partners and champions early on, who helped me grow 360 early on. So that's what drove me. That's when I went to the PA from there. But then after I left the PA and started working for a company vice president called United Charitable. Athletes Charitable is a division of United Charitable that I helped create. Really with the premise of, I believe in philanthropy, I believe in giving back, and I believe that athletes have a unique platform to do so. And if they're given the right tools, they can make a big difference. They can raise money, have a whole bunch of impact, and do things that they never thought they'd do. And it's a business, right? And I try to get these athletes to understand, like, philanthropy is a business, and it's the biggest business that's built around your brand. Ain't nothing better than that, right? So, took over that role and really built out a division that built all the resources around helping professional athletes, entertainers start and run and sustain their foundations. And through not starting their own 501c3, they're called fiscal sponsor programs. So that's something we'll talk about another day. But a fiscal sponsor program is an alternative to starting a 501c3, and that's what we do. Okay. So we're able to help them. It's basically a turnkey foundation, right? So basically, a fiscal sponsor program allows them to do everything that you'd be able to do with a 501c3, except we are the ones in the back end doing all the taxes, compliance, administration, legal. I mean, we do all that stuff so that all they have to do is focus on their mission and their passion and go out there and do. And for athletes, that's all we want to do. Because we make so many mistakes. I mean, you take some of the athletes in the NFL that get man of the year and this and that, and they still get articles written about them like they're not compliant, they're not this, they didn't do their taxes with their foundation. Where's the money going, right? That's our job, That's our job to make sure that they are compliant and the money's going where it's supposed to go and all that kind of stuff. So they get to have an up and running foundation and raise money all over the country without having to get licenses and insurance and things like that. So that's what we do. So we just make philanthropy easy.
I like that. That's dope. I kind of ran into some situation like that. I was working with a program and, article came out and said I wasn't doing something. Right. It was like, well, no, that's the company. Like I was doing this, but the company that managed this, they were doing that. And then I think you do us a good service because you're trying to protect that athlete from having their name associated with someone doing bad.
And so we manage over $200 million in charitable assets. And so we have like 600 programs under us. So we do it at a high level. We do it for big companies like Cheesecake Factory. So it's not just athletes that need help, right? Cheesecake Factory is this multi-million-dollar company, and they come to us and say, we need help to do this, where we want to give back, we want to do this, help us figure out how to do that, make it easy for us. So when you help a company like Cheesecake Factory, you can also help athletes. I mean, we got Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, we have DJ Reader, we got guys that are actually making an impact because we made it easy for them just to go in there and do so, and we keep them compliant. So it's been good. I'm really passionate about it, as you can tell, because I really think it's what helped me transition.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Without 360, I don't think I would be here today in front of you guys. It helped me, like I said, it got me up every day with a purpose and let me transcend to my next level. So if I can pass that on and let young athletes do that in the right way, and keep them compliant and maximize and maximize their network and all these different things, that's really, a good thing for me. So that's a spinoff to, we started the Giving Legends podcast. Charlie Batch is a good friend of mine, but I brought him on board to also as a strategic advisor for Athletes Charitable, because he's doing some amazing stuff in philanthropy in Pittsburgh. So his guidance and talking to these young athletes as well, because I wanted a mentorship layer of it as well. I didn't just want to say, here, figure it out. I want to be able to also add the layer of mentorship as a professional athlete and all that kind of stuff. And so we started Giving Legends, and we wanted to highlight people who commit to giving back consistently and all the time, right? Because a lot of podcasts now, they're very like, they're not as positive as we would like them to be, right? So I wanted to highlight.
They're trying to. It's clickbait.
It's clickbait. So they want to say something crazy, but ours is let's focus on the people that are doing it good. We get the Warwick Duns on there and different people like that, talking to them about what do you do, how do you do it, so that the young athlete can say, okay, man, he made that mistake, or here's how he did it, or here's what I can do, and here, give access to really giving back and put it in their mind that they can really do it. So it's just creating that legacy off of the field, man. We all have a legacy in football, but what is we call legends? We're legends, right? That's what we're all part of, the NFL legends. But what is that legend off the field? What is that legacy we're creating off the field? So that's really what we created with Giving Legends and Athletes Charitable.
I love it all. And I don't mean to make a joke about this, but the reason why you got to help the restaurant you just said, Cheesecake Factory, because they can't put it together. They menu too big, dog.
It's huge. It's huge.
Menu.
What kind of restaurant is a Cheesecake Factory? What are they? Are they a steak? Are they Italian?
Dude.
Are they Asian?
It's the one question that nobody has the answer to.
So when you go there, it's as big as the menu is. Do you get the same thing every time, or do you change it up?
I ain't been to cheesecake in so long.
I get the same thing. I try and just get the same thing because, I know what I know.
I flip through the pages and I'm like, let me just get it.
Yeah, I feel like everybody does that.
Yeah.
They go through you get to page 8 and you're like, dude,
Yeah, you're like,
they can't be that good at making everything.
Let me just get a popcorn shrimp.
Yeah, I just do the buffalo chicken things. That's what I do. All right. Sorry, I got off subject, but I just couldn't let that go. All right, you listen to me, and then you respond.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Quote, I envision my career in philanthropy being even more special than my career in the NFL. Professional sports careers are fleeting, but the impact I'm able to create through my roles as United Charitable, Athletes Charitable, and 360 Sports Academy can live on forever. How you feel like you're doing at that goal?
I feel like I'm on my journey. We football players, so I never feel like I'm complete version of myself here or where I want to be in that quote. But I am on my journey. I am passing. It's not just about the impact that Hannibal Navies can make, but if I am empowering, other athletes to do that stuff, imagine, the tentacles that we're creating, not just myself and my community in Oakland or my community in Atlanta, but if I'm empowering hundreds of athletes to do the same thing, we're empowering communities throughout the country. So that's my legacy. That's what I love about, and I think I'm on my way there. I'm making an impact. These athletes, and it's not just me making an impact, it's impact through them, right? So it's not, like I said, it's not about Hannibal Navies. It's about empowering these professional athletes and these entertainers to do their own stuff, because and getting them to think about it as a business as opposed to just this thing that I'm doing on the side. But look at your, foundations have P&Ls and spreadsheets, and you gotta have all the infrastructure of a business. And sometimes they don't run it as business because it's not thought of that way. And I think that's a big mistake. So yeah, man, I think, just educating. A lot of what I do is just educate them. Like I just sit here and talk to you about fiscal sponsor program. Did y'all even know that that's something that existed?
No.
Right. So that's
I only know 501c3.
Right. So half of my job is educating them on what that even is and how it's beneficial for them as an athlete or just in general, and getting them to understand that before they can go take the next step. So just educating them and doing that. So I love, and I feel like with that quote, I am empowering people. So the legacy will go on, because these, that is sustainable, right? You can create a sustainable foundation and go away, but NFL career is not sustainable, right? That's going to end at some point. So trying to create that legacy off the field is something that I'm on my way to doing.
So my pops or my parents are the reason I am what I am today. Specifically my pops. My dad was in the military, and kind of like one of the guests we had earlier, like I wanted to be in the military because my dad was in the military. My dad taught me work hard, and through that military structure, I learned a lot from that.
Mm.
If I were to give you Mount Rushmore and 4 people to put on this Mount Rushmore of greatness, or Mount Rushmore of helping Hannibal Navies get to where he is right now, who would those 4 people be?
First 2 easy, moms and pops.
Yeah.
First 2 easy. My father he passed away when I was 13 from leukemia, but he was such a big figure in my life and big figure in the community. Like I said, he was an advocate. He's an advocate and social advocate and African American studies teacher and in the community. So he was like a local celebrity to me and out there, because everybody knew him and went to him for that. And he had students that came through that to this day say, "Oh, they hear my name, Navies." They're like, "You missed the Navy, son?" So his impact was huge, and it was huge on me even at 13 years old. My mother, always been an influence. She took the baton when he passed away and just continued to pour into me. She still continues to pour into me. So without her continued guidance, I wouldn't be here. The third one would be a man named Johnny Shibley. He's a person that had nothing to do with football or anything like that. I met him later in my life after football, but he became a catalyst. He was a businessman. He became a catalyst and be one of my main mentors that allowed me to take my steps, man, and gave me guidance and gave me the confidence to do business and different things and just poured into me, and we became like brothers. And so he was super important to my transition and who I am today.
What is his business in, if you don't mind?
He owned Lennox Financial. He no longer owns it. I think he sold it, but he owned Lennox Financial, was at the time was like one of the number 1, number 2 mortgage firms in the country.
Okay.
So he was kicking butt for a lot of years and doing a lot of good things. And he just, I just met him and just started asking him questions. And that's why I tell youngsters all the time, just ask somebody questions. They're willing to help you out if you ask questions and come in with that kind of attitude. So he was just started from one meeting. I'm like, could you give me some insight? I just want to get this. And I was writing stuff down. Then it turned from that to just like, he saw I was serious and became a major catalyst in who I was and who invested in me, gave me, like I said, infrastructure. He gave me office space. Like he has a whole bunch of office space. So in Lennox. So yeah, man, he was influential. Trying to figure out how my 4th one would be. I don't know, man. I don't know. I would just have to say, I don't know if it's one person, but I would have to say my brother.
Yeah,
there we go.
I have 2 brothers and a sister, but my brother Robert was somebody that's been on my journey with me. He came with me to college. He went to college in Colorado. He went drafted to Charlotte. He came to Charlotte, and he's still here in Atlanta. You know, he's been a person that's just been somebody, you know, somebody you always can trust, no matter where environment you in. Like, at least I know I got one person that I can trust. Like, I don't know, but I got one person that I can go to and trust, and that is going to show up for you, right? So I would say, big bro for sure.
All right, yeah. Hey, man, we appreciate you. You're off the hot seat.
Yeah, I'm off the hot seat.
If it was a hot seat, I feel like it was a cool seat.
It wasn't that hot.
I don't think it was that hot.
No, I wasn't that hot.
I mean, you were great.
I appreciate it, man. It wasn't that hot.
And you had one, truly, truly amazing question.
I appreciate it.
Like, you were locked in.
You give him one?
I mean, I thought I was locked in the whole time, but if he give me one, I'll take one.
I thought it was amazing.
He's a tough critic.
Like,
he's
I
a
really
tough critic.
I'm like, ooh, that was nice. All right. Anyways, well, Hannibal, thank you for pouring into us, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
Continue to pour into others.
For sure.
Other athletes need to hear this story. I wrote something down that I thought was amazing, and that was to try and you said you try and stay away from asking former players, what are you doing now? And I used to run away from that question when it was asked to me. I'd get nervous. I would say, oh, well, I'm kind of, and now I no longer do that. I try and stand up on my own 2 feet and be prideful in whatever it is that I'm doing, because it's just the next chapter in my life. And so I would encourage others to try and do that same thing, that, hey, like the same pride we took in whatever we were doing in our job of football, you just take that same attitude and pride. It transitions over to everything else in life.
I know we're ending up, but that's probably my story where I felt like I thrived in, because I just didn't care, like telling people. So sometimes you're like, what you doing? Like, I used to, if I don't know what I'm doing, I'm like, you know what, I'm figuring it out, but I think I'm going this direction. But I would stand on my square, and then I wasn't ashamed about it. So there's this like thing where some of us as athletes, we retire from football and we're ashamed of it. Like, why are you ashamed? Because you're not playing football. Like, it's part of the journey, right? So you shouldn't be ashamed. You accomplished amazing things, and you made it to 1% of the people that could play in the NFL. So that is something you could take with you. But for me, when I did know something, I would say, yeah, this is what I'm doing. When I didn't, I say, I didn't know what I'm doing, right? And we say, are you still playing? No, I'm a free agent, or I'm not this. Some people say I'm a free agent when they really retired. Yeah. Right? So for me, I'm like, oh, I'm done. Like, I'm done. And it mentally put me in a different box mentally to handle what was in front of me, as opposed to lying to myself and lying to other people. Because living with a lie, that's how you start up here. When you're looking in the mirror and you lying to yourself, that's when it starts up here. So I think for me, unconsciously, I was just one of the people who was just stand on my square and be at it, but I didn't realize it was helping me transition, just like you saw.
No, but it's what we alluded to earlier. Mm-hmm. I don't think we show ourselves enough grace.
Sure, absolutely.
Because I think it's the competitor in us, and we just got to show ourselves more grace. Like, I think that's ultimately the key, showing yourself grace.
100%. I agree.
Well, I'm going to grace us up out of here. Thank you to all of our listeners and viewers out there. Wherever you pick up your podcast, make sure you give us 5-star rating, review, follow, click,
share, like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah. And
give us a like.
Yeah, give us a like. But then you're going to check us out on the NFL's YouTube channel. That is where we're at nowadays as well. Wherever that is, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts. Thanks for always tuning in, man. Tell a friend to do what, Peanut?
Tell a friend.
There we go, man. Get us out.
I'm Peanut. That's Rome. That's Hannibal. This is the NFL Players Second X podcast. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. We out.